Hey, welcome to Faith and Calm. This is going to be class number 121. Tonight we're talking about the romance of Elul. In case anybody doesn't know what the month is, this is the month. We're going to begin on Shabbos. We're going to end into the month of Elul. And Elul is a of, people worry about Elul. Oh, no, Tishrei is coming. Got to get my act together. It's dangerous. What's going to happen, and so forth. That was how I was brought up, with all the fear and loathing and terror of the shofar blowing every day and Elul coming. And it's taken many, many years to learn that there's another story to Elul, and Chassidus really brings that out. And so it comes from the Alter Rebbe, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe. He gave the metaphor. He said that Elul is the month that the king comes out into the field. What was he trying to explain? He's trying to explain the following idea. Elul is a romantic month. Elul is a romantic month. Why would you say such a thing like that? The Sephardi, they're up every morning before dawn. The whole month they say slichas. Ashkenaz is just it's only the week before Rosh Hashanah we get up that early. But they're up every single day at the crack of dawn when it's still dark out, praying to God. And what does that mean? What does it mean? So here's the inner story. So the Arizal says that every time of the year has a certain spiritual energy associated with it. Shabbos has a certain spiritual energy. Yom Kippur has a certain spiritual energy. Passover has a spiritual energy. And that if you do certain things and you keep away from certain other things, you can tap in to the energy that's available on that particular day. So some people think, so many restrictions in Judaism, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, it sounds like that superficially, but really, like a person who's telling you, there's two ways to get to this town. One way, and then there's the way with all the pitfalls and all the damages and so forth. I'm telling you, warning you, don't go that way, the second way, because you can actually tap, it's going to be difficult for you. So God says, don't try those other things. Go this way. And there you'll get that energy. So Shabbos has rules about working. Shabbos has rules of, Yom Kippur has rules about certain things. And the month of Elul also has a certain kind of energy. Because in the Elul, the whole month, the 13 mitos of attributes of God are shining. Hashem, we say it. Hashem, Kiarachum, Bachanu, and Erech, Hapayim, Rapesed, Behemet. We're saying, every day, Slichos especially, we say this over and over and over again. Rosh Hashanah we do. It says that those days there's a shine, there's a radiance of godliness. So the Alter Rebbe asked the question, since it's such a month, which is so holy, the whole month is considered a holy month. How come, there's nothing special about it? There's no holidays in it. There's nothing, the shofar, but we don't necessarily see it. So he gives a mashal, an analogy, a story, and it makes things more clear. He says that the month of Elul, it is that the king comes out into the field. Why? Because on Rosh Hashanah, the king is going to be coronated. God is going to become the king. And when the king is in his palace, it's not easy to get to see the king. You have to go through an examination. You have to be tested. Not everybody gets to go in. Maybe it's only certain noble people, some other kinds of people. It's difficult to get an audience with the king during when he's in the palace. But before he's coronated, it's the custom of the king to go out into the fields. Actually, Rabbi was listening to Rabbi Wai, and he was saying, actually, that was a custom in Tsarist Russia. Tsar Paul, he used to go out to the field, check up on the people before, and he would dress up. He didn't dress up. He didn't come with his entourage. He didn't come with his royal robes. He just come as he is, dressed up like the other people to have a face-to-face connection and a relationship with with people, to see what they think, what's on their mind, what's going on with them. So that is the month of Elul. God comes into our domain and he asks, hey, I need you. I need you. I need you to come back to me. I need you to come back to the palace. Have you been away? You've been running around in the field, and I need to reconnect with you, and I'm making myself available. So the letters of Elul are Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed, which explains it means Ani Ladodi V'Dodi Li. I am from Shirashirim. I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. It sounds like it's a very loving, special period of time. And what he's saying, but it seems like we do this. So the Alter Rebbe explains. He says it's actually two parts to it. Yes, we have to do something, but God does something too. God comes out into the field, and he comes and he gives us the potential to connect to him. So he starts the process. He doesn't overwhelm us. He doesn't dress up in his royal robes. He just makes himself available in a way that you're not uncomfortable with talking to him heart to heart, openly about whatever's going on in your life and how you feel. And then we have to respond to that by opening up and telling God, hey, this is what's going on with me. I can be open with you. I can tell you what's going on. And when we respond, I am to my beloved, then he responds back even more, because what God gives to us for free is only so much. But when we choose to reconnect to him, we make a channel, we make an opening that he can actually give us more. That is the idea, that he comes out into the field, because what is the field? The field is not the city. The city is the place where people live. A field is where people work, and a wilderness is where people get lost and there's nothing to eat. So it's a very important, even that piece of the analogy is very important. In the city, that's a place of dwelling of people. That means, when God comes out into the field, he's not interested necessarily in the good part of you, how wonderful you were, everything that was going well. He's coming to talk to you about the field. Where's the field? The field is not an inhabited place. He wants to know, how are you doing in the places that you're not so happy about? How are you not comfortable about yourself? What do you want to improve on, and so forth? So God is coming out into the field, and he's saying, hey, you can, it's a bit of an uncivilized location, and you can talk to me about your things that you're not comfortable with, because that's where you make your connection. If we only show our good part, if we only show the parts that we're happy with, then we really aren't taking advantage of the opportunity that God has given us to come together with our whole being. Only coming with the parts that we want to show. That's just like when you're out dating and you're before you get married. And that also is Rosh Hashanah. So when you go out date, you dress nicely, but you want to know who the person really is. You want to know what's going on inside of them. You're asking questions to find out who they are. And so therefore, prayer and the period of Elul is a time where we can actually be open and comfortable. God is interested in knowing, I know. I want to know what's going on with you. I want to know all the parts about you. Because as the rabbis give an example, when a person loses something, you have to look at where you lost it. There's a story. It's a Helm story. It's a funny story. Anyway, there was once a guy. He saw one of his friends, and he was searching for something at night, and he saw him looking at one of the street corners. And he says, "What are you looking for?" He told him what he's looking for, and he said, "Did you lose it around here?" And he says, "Actually, no. I lost it a couple blocks away." So the first guy says, "So why are you looking here?" He says, "Because the light is better." So when you lose something, we lose it. We lose it spiritually. We lose it psychologically. We lose ourselves. We lose some of our connection with God. And it's true. That's part of human. So you want to reconnect to him. You want to connect back and so forth. You got to go back to where you lost it. You got to be open. You know what? There's parts of myself that I'm not so comfortable with. There you can be comfortable with God. Elul is the opportunity to actually open up, be comfortable with those parts of ourselves that we normally are not comfortable with, and to talk to him. He's not dressed up, wants to know about it. He wants to meet you in the field. If you're not dressed up, he's not dressed up, and we can have it. And that is really a very special level of godliness. The level of godliness that's not limited to something that looks like godliness or holiness or spirituality. It's the kind of godliness that you can actually is compatible with actually our physical, simple life of the world. That simply is Elul. The Rebbe also mentioned, this is a different idea, but he said, please tell it to everybody that you meet, in my name or not in my name. So I was reading the Sikha, so I said, maybe I have to tell this one too. There's another aspect in Elul, and he takes it from the letters of Elul. One of the acronyms for Elul is Ana Leyada V'Sam Kidla, which is a pasuk in the Chumash, which is talking, strangely enough, about the laws of the Are Miklat. What was the Are Miklat? The cities of refuge. So there was a law, and it's on the books, it just can't be enforced, that if a person accidentally kills somebody, there were 6 special cities of refuge where he was supposed to run to be saved from the blood redeemer. It was that family member of the person who was killed had the permission and the responsibility to go kill this person. So to protect him from being captured and being killed, because he did it by accident, there were these places called the Are Miklat, the city of refuge. It's an odd law, so let's open it up and try and understand it on the simple level, and then we'll understand it on the spiritual level. So on the simple level, you may say, well, wait a second, this person didn't intentionally try and kill him. He shouldn't be guilty of anything. So the law was that whether he was guilty or whether he was not guilty, both cases he was supposed to plead to the Are Miklat so that nobody would kill him. And if then he would be taken from there under escort, would be brought to the court, and the court would then judge, and a court would judge, and it would most likely let him free. Why? Because to prove that somebody was guilty, it was very, very difficult. And the statement in the Gemara says that a court that kills a Jew once in 70 years is considered a wild court. So it was so difficult to actually put somebody to death. So he would probably end up the rest of his life in this Are Miklat. Are Miklat would therefore protect him so that he would not be, and if he ever left, he would be in danger, but he had to stay inside there. So now we have the question from the other side. But the person they killed by accident, why should he have to go there? So the Rebbe explains the reason why he had to go there is because, in general, the Jewish soul would fly away from anything that, even an accidental, be causing an injury to somebody else. So the only reason that he possibly could have ended up accidentally killing it is because he either was habituated or constantly was doing things that gave power to his animal soul that he actually became overpowered him, so that this thing happened to him, that his godly soul was tripped up, and he caused the incident. Therefore, because he was in some way responsible for making himself open to the possibility of doing an accident, therefore he has to do some sort of level of a spiritual atonement. Now, this all makes much more sense on the spiritual level. On the spiritual level, we don't have a temple anymore. We don't have the cities of refuge anymore. And therefore, what happens to a person nowadays? Well, a person nowadays, not just because he physically killed somebody, but sometimes spiritually, he does injury to himself. He does, his animal soul overpowers his godly soul, and he in effect, quote, air quotes, kills or damages his godly soul. So what does he have to do? He has to go to an Are Miklat. What is an Are Miklat? Are Miklat was 2 things. One was, it's a place where you change your habits. You have to leave your habits, your customs, and go into exile. When you go into exile, you have to become a different person. When a person changes his location, he behaves differently. So when you move to a new location, when you go somewhere else, it's a shakeup. It wakes you up, and you start to be given to change yourself. And even his rabbi had to go there, and he had to be provided with a rabbi to be able to learn, so that he would be able to improve himself. And when he does improve himself, then not only is his averas forgiven, but they also become his merits, because now his averas are being used to actually transform and to change himself. So they're considered positive things. This is an effect that happens with the month of Elul. The month of Elul is called the Cities of Refuge, where we have a chance to move away from our normal selves, to prepare for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, to find a space and a time, a special walled city where we can actually start pulling away from all the things that distract us and cause us to go off the track, and to actually reconnect with God and to become more united with Him. And that's the idea of the Ari Mikvah. And when we do that, we transform ourselves, and we turn ourselves into new people. And when we do that, we merit to have a Shana Tova Sukkah, a very sweet and happy year. And that is what the Rebbe is emphasizing. He's saying is, you know what? Take advantage of this month of Elul. Take advantage of this Ari Mikvah. Take advantage of the opportunities that I'm giving you, because it's an opportunity to actually to make a difference in who we are and in our lives. And so I'll finish with a cute story. I don't think it's connected to any of this. Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
That's your story.
So there was a little boy who was
about the cities. Were they allowed to take their families with them?
I don't know. I think so.
I hope so.
So too.
Okay, that's all. Sorry.
Good question. Good question. I'll have to do some research. There was a little boy. His mother looked out the window one day. He was at school and saw that there was a huge thunderstorm coming. And she said, "Oh no, he usually walks home. I'm going to drive to school, pick him up. I don't want him going home in the rain and the thunder." She gets into the car. It starts to thunder and rain. It's really pouring. She's hoping the kid's still left at school there. But as she's driving, she sees him. He's walking home, and he's having a great time. He's not no umbrella. He's walking through the rain. And every time that lightning comes, he looks up and gives a big smile to heaven like this. And he's walking and so forth. And she says to him, David, says, "What are you doing? Why are you so happy when you're walking in the rain? You're getting over." He says, "Why wouldn't I be happy?" And so forth. Every once in a while, God takes out his camera and does a flash, and he's taking my picture. So I want to smile for the picture.
Very good.
That's the story. The story is, is a different way of looking at yourself and what's going on in the world. Look at it as rain, this thunder, and this lightning, and you can realize that, what? No, God is taking photographs. He's happy with you. So, month of Elul, time of happiness, time of joy, time of connection with God, and a time of renewing our bonds with God. And when we're reunited and realigned with who we truly supposed to be, then that's already even when we know that that's what we need to do, and that already is the big of the healing, because there's many people out there who don't even necessarily understand that here's an opportunity to reconnect, and it's important, and that you really are not reconnecting to something foreign to you. You're actually connecting to the deepest part and the truest part of who you are yourself. Who would not want to be actually aligned and connected to themselves more, and to be more in touch with themselves more in a deeper way. With that, I will turn the microphone over to my wife. You ready?
Oh, yeah, such a nice luncheon.
Casey?
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Oh, wow, Amy.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Can we see the sleeves on that shirt? It looks like it's.
Okay. It's just the sleeves are see-through.
Oh no, I thought they were hanging. I'm sorry. I thought I saw them like they're like flary sleeves.
Yeah, they're nice.
Sorry.
Hello,
But
everybody.
it's nice to see
Hi,
Amy.
Amy. Hi, Emily. Hi, Karen. Hi, Golda.
Golda Liba. Thank you.
Hi, Dina, and hi, everybody else. Okay, so Amy's back. Amy, how is Israel? Yeah, you're
We
muted.
had a wonderful time. I was telling you Heshkel Shemin earlier. So we left as soon as you came back, but it was incredibly special to be there, both with our family and at the various just places to go and be. So I made sure to pray for every one of you at the Western Wall. So I spent a lot of time there. I didn't forget anybody. I prayed for every one of you, and even ones that hadn't joined us yet or that we don't know, so fully, we see so rarely. So I covered you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent.
It was an exceptional trip. Thank you for asking.
Baruch Hashem.
Glad to be back.
Yeah. I think I think mine was life-changing. I really do. It's really, really nice. So my trip to Israel. So anyway, I want to continue where we left off last time, and I'm going to preface it by saying, first of all, does anybody want to say anything? Anybody else want to say something? Okay. So I'm going to preface it by saying the 4 things that I usually begin with. Number 1, that we are in an extraordinary time. And I really feel it right now. We're in an extraordinary time. The Lubavitcher Rebbe told us that the redemption of the Jewish people in the world is beginning to unfold. And the Rebbe made many copious predictions, and they all came true. So this one also, we're going to see it come true. And the second thing is that our souls were handpicked to be at this juncture in human history. The third thing is that we were given all the tools that we need. We were given the Torah, which is our guidebook, and we were given the mitzvahs, which are our power tools, to change ourselves and to change the world. And probably by changing ourselves, we do change the world. And the last thing is that what we're doing tonight, by learning about the redemption, by learning about the Geula, in Hebrew it's called Geula, we're actively advancing, and we're actively speeding it up. The Rebbe said there is no faster way, there's no better way to speed up the redemption than by learning about it. So Yehezkel Shimon talked about the romance of the month of Elul, and I'm going to continue the series that I've been doing on intimacy. Intimacy, not just, intimacy is something I feel that every woman, every person in the world wants. Every woman intensely wants it, and it's available in all relationships in our life, in the relationship with Hashem and the relationship with other people. But we trip ourselves up, and I think it's part of the redemption. I think that I think that life is going to be is becoming different. And part of it is that we're going to have the lives that we always really wanted to have, lives of closeness to those that that we love, lives of closeness to, the rest of humanity. So anyway, I'm going to, because some people weren't here, I'm going to briefly go through the 5 steps that we discussed so far. But if you want to find out more, you have to go, because I'm just going to give a 1-line thing for each one. You'd have to go back and look at the previous sessions. So the first thing we said was, in order to have intimacy, you have to know who you are. And as much as we think we know who we are, we actually live on a somewhat external level of who we are. And we have, in order to have true intimacy, you have to get to know yourself. And the second thing was, if you're talking about intimacy with another individual or with Hashem, you have to make that person's needs primary, not what you think this person needs. That's what I'm going to give them. But that can be important. But to create intimacy, taking the other person's priorities seriously is an incredible way to create intimacy. The third thing is that everybody talks about love nonstop. Love is everything. But really, there's something more powerful than love in creating intimacy. And more powerful than love in creating intimacy is awe, fear, or awe. Fear is a negative word for it. It comes from the same source, though. Awe. You are awed by the privilege of being in a relationship with this person. That's a tremendous step towards intimacy, because you're very careful with a relationship. If you're in awe of this person let me into their life, and no matter how much I know this person, I can never know this person completely. Even if it's my own husband, there are so many aspects of the other person's life that we we can't know. So anyway, a big thing for intimacy is to be awed by the privilege of being in a relationship with this person, with a friend, with Hashem, with everybody. So the fifth thing was a way to achieve intimacy is to stop trying and control the other person. And as women, we see, women's spiritual source is the spiritual aspect of Givura, which is translated as might. And men's spiritual source, it doesn't sound logical. You would think that it's the opposite. Men's spiritual source is chesed, kindness, and ahava. You would think, wait a minute, women are ahava and men are might. No, not according to, no, it's not the case. Our spiritual, and I'll give you an example and you will see the truth of it. If a man and a woman were to meet a stranger, and let's say a husband and a wife meet a stranger, and the stranger comes to their, they have an encounter with a stranger. At the end of that encounter, okay, in Judaism, we don't talk about somebody when they leave the room. We just don't do it. But were they to talk about this person when they left the room? Were they to do it? The man would say, "Nice guy. Yeah, he's what a good guy." And the woman would say, "Didn't you see this? Didn't you see that? Didn't you see this? Didn't you see that?" Because women are like a fine chisel. They see all aspects to a person. And because we are like that, because we see, we see we see everything. We see everything about the other person, about our mate, about our children, about our friends, about all these different things. Women have they fall into the trap of trying to fix everybody else. And when you try and fix somebody else, it doesn't promote intimacy. It promotes the opposite. It promotes distance. So, once a powerful step towards intimacy is to stop trying and fix the other person, and instead communicate your trust to the other person that how much you trust and you trust their judgment. You trust their like with a kid. If you tell a kid, you try and fix a kid, it doesn't go very far. But if you tell the kid, I've seen you and you have a lot of common sense, and I trust you that you're gonna figure this one out. You're gonna figure out what the important things, and you tell them what you communicate through every other way, good values and stuff like that. But you also communicate to them at the same time that you're not worried about them one bit. You see that they have good stuff and they're going to be able to figure this out. And it's a very, very powerful and a very big bonding thing with a mate, with a kid, with anyone else. So now we're up to today, which is step 6. And in step 6, towards intimacy is the opposite of what we were just saying about, okay, don't try and control. Step 6 is learn how to receive. Now, for some reason, it's interesting, in Judaism, women are called makabel. We're called, if there's a giver and a taker, this is also contrary to what we see on a superficial level. Men are called mashpia and woman is called makabel. That means makabel is the one who receives. So, for example, in a very graphic example, that's what happens when you make a baby. The man gives, the woman receives, shelters, nurtures, and brings the baby into being. So, but even though it's a very big spiritual thing, and by the way, receiving in Judaism is everything. You think that, giving is everything, right? No, receiving is the secret to the universe. And but if a woman is busy controlling and fixing everybody, she's not busy receiving. So to create intimacy, even simple acts of receiving from another person create intimacy. We're all in our generation. One thing that happened is that I don't know if it's a result of the secular world or not, but all Jewish women are super women, right? They're super women, right? And we don't need anything. We don't, we're always giving advice. We're always, we don't need anything. And really, that you can't create bonds that way. So when you open yourself up to receiving from a sibling, from another person, then you create a connection. So I remember, this is true even in our relationship with Hashem. I remember in my early days of when I discovered Hashem and I started keeping Torah and mitzvahs. It's a very common failing, but in my early days, I, just like with every other relationship, I figured, I wouldn't have said this consciously, but this is what was happening unconsciously. I wanted things desperately that I was not getting. And so I thought, if I do this mitzvah, for sure I'm going to get it. If I do that mitzvah, Hashem is going to have to give me this. I'm so perfect. He has to do it. And so I was, instead of trusting Hashem to give me what I needed when I needed it, I was maneuvering. Hashem with the things that I thought could maneuver Hashem. It's true, mitzvahs are good and they are channels for blessing. Don't get me wrong. And you should do them. And you should do them as channels for blessing, but not as a way to control your life. Hashem doesn't want that. Hashem wants us to trust him that everything that he gives to us is good. And if Hashem gave it to us, then there's something we can do with it, no matter what it is. So, the way to go, let's take the example with Hashem. The way to go with Hashem is to understand and to receive everything he gives us. That means to receive the good, the bad, and the ugly, and to receive them all with gratitude, because every single thing that happens to us is authored by Hashem. And if Hashem put it in our life, then it is good. And, I've done it so much this year, especially. Anything that happens, something awful happens, and I say, Hashem, this is from you. And if it's from you, then it's good. And I'm thanking you for it. And Hashem, if you wouldn't mind, you could also remove it if it's going to be good for me. But I'm thanking you, because this is not because this person did this to me. This is not because I inherited this. This is not because this is in my family. This is because it's from you. It's something directly made and tailored for my ultimate good. And when you receive from Hashem, you open up channels to receive more and more and more. If we don't take what Hashem gives us, it's like we cripple him from giving us more. So when we take the good, the bad, and the ugly, all as presents, and we trust Hashem, this is from you, that means it's good. And I'm thanking you for it. I'm thanking you for it with every ounce of my being. And you can also put in a request to, for what you personally would like. So we enable Hashem by receiving from him. The more we receive from him, the more we enable him to give to us. So, before I started this intimacy series, I became interested in it, and from different flaws that I saw in my life. And I thought, this is something I want to do. This is something I want to get better at. And so, when you open the channels, all of a sudden, all these things started falling into my life. The most amazing things, secrets I wish I knew 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 27 years ago, a million years ago. And they're just pouring in, because when you open a door and you say, Hashem, help me, Hashem wants to be, the more of a receiver we are, the more of a giver Hashem can be. So, anyway, I want to yeah. I want to talk a little bit also. I want to talk, I want to talk a little bit about something interesting. It's not because in talking about intimacy, people often talk about modesty as well. And so anyway, I thought there was an awesome thing that I saw on one of these, in one of my searches in the realm of intimacy. And Dove soap. Does anybody know about this? Dove soap made it has these, I don't know, they have these research projects, and they made a very interesting research project. They asked women for a certain amount of time. They took volunteers and they asked them for a certain amount of time to write honestly every thought that comes into their mind when they see themselves in the mirror. And everything they should write down. It's a Dove beauty products. Okay, so that's what they did in the morning when they saw themselves in the mirror, when they were getting dressed. They wrote down everything that every sentence that popped out of their mouth, or every thought that popped through their mind. And then after a certain amount of time, they had to submit those comments. And then they were invited to a seminar at a restaurant. And they all came, from wherever they lived. They came together at this place, and they were waiting online because the restaurant was packed. The restaurant that they were called to was packed. And eventually they got called in, and all the people at the restaurant, Amy, I want you to hear this. It's really amazing. Okay, anyway. So all the women at the restaurant, they were talking loudly, and the ladies who were waiting to be seated heard people say, they heard people say, "Oh my gosh, with bags like that, what can you do? You think something surgical?" They were saying to each other, "You think something surgical can help you?" And then another person said to another lady who was sitting at her table, "Thunder thighs, how did you dare go out of the house today?" And another person said, all sorts of horrible comments. And the women were absolutely horrified. And a lot of them were going to intervene. How are these people so mean to each other? And all of a sudden they realized that these were the comments that they had submitted, that they said to themselves every morning when they saw themselves in the mirror. And the conclusion of Dove Beauty Products is a very good conclusion. They said, if you wouldn't say it to somebody else, don't say it to yourself. And anyway, so it's a magnificent thing. If you want intimacy with somebody else, you have to love yourself, and and we have to be, let's say there's something that you're not happy with. It's not the way it used to be. You don't look the way you used to. You have to be so grateful for every single part of your body. Your body is like an incredible thing in Judaism. It's not this just a vehicle. It's an incredibly holy thing, a body. And you have to say, yeah, these arms, they don't look like they did 20 years ago, but guess what? You know what mitzvahs they've done? They're incredible. They're incredible. Whatever it is that you happen to be criticizing yourself about. And don't forget, as we said, woman's spiritual source is Gevurah. So that eye of criticism, we turn it more cruelly on ourselves than on anybody else. So I want to add, since we're talking about intimacy and modesty, I want to add a little thing that a beautiful thought that I heard, and that is that what is modesty? Why does Judaism say that we should be modest? And it's and they talked about let's say somebody has an income tax statement. If a person has a normal, low medium income tax income, then they're not going to go to great lengths to hide their income tax statement from other people. But if a person makes $7 billion a year, they're going to hide their income tax statement from other people. They're not going to want other people to look at it. Why? Because they don't want them to know that they're worth what they're worth. something that is hidden is only something that has tremendous value. When Judaism says to cover certain things, certain things, it's not out of a prudish attitude. It is because every little micro millimeter of your skin, of a Jewish woman's skin, is infinitely precious. It's worth billions. And a man does not have the same he doesn't have the same modesty demands placed on him, because there's something extremely special about the woman's body. And that used to be a common understanding, but in our day, it got degraded, and people think, oh, you cover up because, I don't know, it's a prudish thing. It's not that way. It's just like money in a vault, and it's just like tznius, the Hebrew word for modesty, means that I am infinitely precious, and I choose with whom I'm going to share that preciousness with. My body is infinitely precious, and I choose who I'm going to share it with. So I thought that was like very, very, very nice. And I'm going to end with a little story, just because I like to end with stories. And you'll forgive me, I don't have a lot of details, so it's going to be a fast story. It's a story that's told by a woman named Stirna Spritzer. I know Stirna Spritzer. I had lunch at her house. She's a Rebbitzin in Crown Heights. And as I say, I don't have all the details, so I'm going to tell it quickly. There was the story is told by a young friend of Stirna Spritzer. And okay, I'll just tell you the story as it is. There was a woman with a baby who came out of a doctor's office on 7th Avenue in Manhattan, and she was extraordinarily upset because she found out that the baby had a brain tumor and needed surgery. And she was like sort of out of her mind. And she came out of the doctor's office, and as she came out of the office on 7th Avenue, there was a young woman, probably a teenager, standing there. Chabadniks do something called Mitsoyim. They hand out literature about Torah because, I wasn't brought up with Torah. I didn't know a thing about it. And had somebody not approached me, I never would have known anything about it. So she was handing out, I forgot what she was handing out. Maybe she was handing out Shabbos candles, who knows, literature. Anyway, she sees this upset woman, and she talks to her, and the woman spills out what she's upset about. And the young woman says, you have to see the Lubavitcher Rebbe. You have to do it. And the woman had never even heard of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the girl is telling her, no, you have to go. He's such a conduit for blessing. You have to see him. And she explained the best time to see him is on Sundays, because on Sundays he stands in his shul for hours, in the lobby of his shul for hours, really just the entryway. And thousands of people pass by him asking for blessings, Jews, non-Jews, all races, everything. And the woman, so this woman said, I can't come on a Sunday. It's just not possible. I can't get a babysitter ever on a Sunday. And I can't leave my baby alone. And the young woman said, you have to come, do whatever you have to do, but you have to come. So the woman did end up coming. And the girl took her to a class at Mahon Chana, which is a women's seminary. And afterwards they stood in line. The line was tremendously long. And when this woman got to the Rebbe, she didn't, just like many people that I've told you in the past, she didn't say anything. Most people were struck dumb when they saw the Rebbe, even though they had so many things they planned to say. The Rebbe said to her, gave her $1, and he said, I'll give you another $1 when you come back with your baby daughter. And so she did come back to the Rebbe, and she came back with the daughter. And the Rebbe, she told the Rebbe the problem, and the Rebbe said to her, no surgery. And he said something else that was totally mysterious. He said, and tell the judge you want a second opinion. And, then she was out of the line moved. And she had what is this judge? I'm dealing with doctors. What is he talking about? And no surgery. She went to the doctor. She already heard enough about the Rebbe. she went to the doctors and she said, her baby's doctors, and she said, I don't want surgery. And they said, are you out of your mind? And they took her to court as an abusive mother.
Yeah.
They,
$10 I owe you.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you.
they took her to court as an abusive mother. And when she got to court, she remembered exactly what the Rebbe said. And she said to the judge, I just want a second opinion. And the judge said, that sounds reasonable. Get a second opinion. That sounds reasonable. She went and she got a second opinion. And the second opinion doctor did big exams. And he said, there's nothing wrong with your daughter. And she went back to the, and then the first doctors insisted on seeing her too. They gave her new tests. There was nothing wrong with the baby anymore. And so obviously she was very, very happy. Later in many, many years later, she visited one of the original doctors, one of the antagonistic doctors that took her to court. And when she went into his office, he had on his wall, he had a framed picture of $1 that he got from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And he said, I went too.
Oh my God.
It was anyway. So that's the story for today. And I want to thank you all for coming. And I'm going to turn off the recording, and you're free to ask any question that you want.